Hello and welcome to another session of Music Matters with Ev. And I am so pleased for the opportunity to interview this young man who I met him a few years ago. And ever since then, I've been impressed with many things about him. Most of the all, I think, is the fact that he has this calm assurance about who he is and where he's going. So I want to introduce to you BEZ.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that intro still. Thank you, thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm good, I'm good. I'm in good spirits. How about yourself?
Yes, thank you. Yes, definitely. So let's crack on. BEZ, when did you discover that you had something that you wanted to share with the world in terms of your abilities, etc.?
So probably I was around, I'd say about 12 years old.
Okay.
So I started off doing poetry basically. And in school I won a few poetry competitions and I was in a few published books and stuff like that. But then
Mm,
I've always been interested in music. Like my dad's a DJ, so from a young age, I've always had access to lots of different kinds of music, and he's into soul and jazz and a lot of the old stuff. So I've always had access to lots of different kinds of music.
mm-hmm,
But probably, I think the first time I wrote a song, I was 14,
mm-hmm,
and then from there, I taught myself how to play the keyboard and learned a few different software programs
mm-hmm,
and just taught myself really. And I've always had something to say, I guess. It's
mm-hmm.
just over the years I've been able to build it so that I can articulate emotions and my feelings and my thoughts a bit more creatively, which is kind of where I am now.
Okay, thank you. And have you also always been a solo artist? Have you collaborated with anyone in that time since you began until now?
So I've always been a solo artist, but I mean I'm never against collaborating with people. Like I prefer to collaborate with singers if I'm honest, because as well as a producer and a rapper, I'm a songwriter as well. But singing is not one of my gifts. But I'm able to write, and I love to hear the melodies and the melodic sounds that people sing. So I prefer to collaborate with singers if my collaborations are that's what they're going to be.
Okay, good. And when was it, or should I say, where have you been? But before you answer that question, what was it like to have your poetry published for the first time at such a young age?
I mean, to be honest, I probably didn't appreciate it as much as I should have at the time because it was just poetry always came really naturally to me, and it wasn't something I really had to try to do. I was fortunate enough to be recognised, and um, I think where the competition I was in Taunton. It was like quite a big one,
Mm,
and we were published in a book for my school. And but yeah, like I said, at the time, I probably didn't appreciate it as much as I probably do now in terms
mm,
of having that accolade at a young
mm,
age.
mm. Very good. And where have you been performing and doing your thing around the country? Have you been to Europe? Have you been across the pond at all?
So I haven't, but that's in the pipeline for me next year. Well, yeah, this year slash next year. Obviously, you have to be safe and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So mainly, I've toured. Where have I done? So I've done obviously Bristol. I've done Swindon. I've done Bath. I've done Gloucester. I've done a lot of the southwest.
Hmm.
I've done Birmingham, Manchester. Ironically, I haven't done London yet, but
Oh, well done.
but you know what? I'll be honest. It's funny being from where we are in Bristol. I guess I have a different perspective on the music industry. Like I know that the majority of the industry is in London,
Hmm.
and in order to get that mainstream recognition, so on and so forth, you kind of have to eventually go there. But it's not necessarily a priority for me.
Mm,
Like music is a funny thing. Like I've developed my fan base over the years.
hmm.
But ironically, I have more fans in Canada and in
Mm,
Japan than
mm,
I do in England. So
hmm.
it's kind of like I said, London is on my list, but it's not a priority for me as it is for other artists, even though it's the capital and all those types of things. So, but because of that new app called Clubhouse,
Hmm.
my manager, he runs a few different groups on there, and he's made quite a lot of links in a short space of time. So I'll be able to go to LA next year and work with some videographers. What's his name? His name's Gary something. He's quite a behind the scenes type guy, but he's done videos for Snoop Dogg and Swizz Beats and all those types of people. So I'll be able to work with him hopefully next year.
Brilliant. And you mentioned Japan, and I know for a certainty that Bristol is big in Japan. So when you get there, because I know you're going to get there,
Yeah,
you'll be well received.
definitely. Yeah, it's a strange thing. It's kind of, I think sometimes locally people can overlook you maybe because they know you or they know of you, but again, it's the appreciation thing. Sometimes people that are further away that are not necessarily living the same culture and the same social aspects, they appreciate your music more just because it's fresh to them, because
Mm,
it's not their usual.
mm. Yeah. Okay. So take us up to how things impacted you a year ago. What happened to your activity last year this time?
So a year ago, like obviously when lockdown first was announced and all those types of things, I was just about to release my album. I literally
Mm,
just mixed and mastered it and everything, and it was ready to go.
mm-hmm,
And then because of lockdown, obviously all the shows that I planned to do had been cancelled. Um, St. Paul's Carnival was cancelled.
mm-hmm.
Glastonbury was cancelled. I was supposed to be performing at Glastonbury for the first
Wow.
time,
Wow.
but then it got cancelled. So it was kind of. I was also supposed to go to Amsterdam
Mm-hmm.
and perform at the Cannabis Cup, but again that got cancelled. So what I did, I had I it was a blessing for me in the sense of my album's finished now, and I'm gonna release it probably next month.
Mm-hmm.
But it enabled me to do some self inventory
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that I was able to, because I'm, as well as a musician, I'm an NHS worker, so I do project management for the NHS. So I've been working from home for over a year now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that has given me the time to learn new skills in terms of the software I have.
Mm-hmm.
I've been able to, I guess, take more time. I've
Mm-hmm.
always been someone who works at quite a rapid rate in terms
Yes.
of my delivery, and I never like to I never like to waste anything. I never like to record a song and not release it. I just
Yeah.
think that if I've done everything that I need to do to make the song, then it was meant to be released. And I think that it's important for an artist to do that because people can see your progression.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're always trying to wait for your best product, it's your next piece is always going to be better than the one before. So you
Mm-hmm.
just have to kind of keep it going and let people see that you're progressing.
Yeah.
But in terms of the time, like I said, I spent more time with the music in the sense of learning more about the software, doing actual tutorials, and
Mm.
I guess learning more about my sound, and because
Mm.
I was working from home, I was producing probably 3-4 songs a day for
Mm.
a
Wow.
good a good like 9 months or so. So but instead of doing the album, what I did was I did a mixtape,
Right.
and I did the old school kind of traditional mixtape where I I got instrumentals of my favorite songs
Mm-hmm.
and I just wrote to them, and I just got into the habit of writing every day. And
Mm.
and I wrote 12 songs in 12 days, and then I just recorded them as a
Mm.
mixtape and I released that. And I also I I added a persona, I guess. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been Be Easy for a long time now.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of, like I said, because I was doing a lot of self inventory, I I kind of evaluated where I was and where I was planning to go next, and I kind of decided that I needed another name if I was going to continue to be a rapper as well as the other things I do.
Yeah.
So I created the persona Powers That Be. So that's my new kind of rap name. But then I've still got Be Easy, and that's going to be my production name. And it's one of the things that I use for the behind the scenes stuff. So alongside doing the mixtape and the album, one of my friends, he runs a photography studio. So we started doing interviews with lots of different artists from throughout Bristol.
Good.
Just because obviously people have not been able to perform, they're not really able to release their material. So I started a new media channel called Real Recognize Real TV, and we've done a lot of interviews. I think we've done about 50. So they're just being edited at the moment, and they're going to be released soon. But again, that's something that I've been passionate about in terms of media and producing and directing behind camera. So that's what Be Easy will be doing from now on, and short films and stuff. But Powers That Be will still be rapping, and because I was considering not rapping anymore.
What?
I was, and the reason is just because as an artist you have to evolve. And,
of course, yeah.
And I didn't until the time when I was kind of in the zone and I was producing a lot every day and writing songs every day. I just didn't know if I had anything more to say. And sometimes you have to give yourself that silence, I guess, so that you can actually, your spirit can tell you that I need to continue. I've got more things I need to say, or I don't have anything else to say, or maybe it's just I'm very critical of myself, and I don't ever want to say the same things that I've said on a previous project, or I don't want the concepts to be the same, because like I've been rapping for not a long time, but I feel like I've matured in my style and what I have to say, my experiences, and my audience has also kind of grown with me along that way. So I owe it to them and to myself to make sure that my material is original and that it represents where I am at this time. So like I said, I was considering it, but then I just had so much more to say, and it was just still flowing to me, and I still enjoyed it. So that's why I then created another persona, so I could do both things.
Good. I suppose the issue could be considered in this concept, because you have so much, you diversify in your ability.
Yeah.
Because of that, I suppose then if you felt like you didn't have much more to say as a rapper or as that persona, you'd still be contributing and delivering in the other personas.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. And I mean, I manage a few artists now as well, and I produce for them. And because of that, it was kind of, I kind of lowered my ego a little bit. See, when you're a rapper, it's kind of, there's certain things that come with it, and you feel the need to be heard after a while. It's kind of you almost crave that recognition of, was the song good? Was that verse good? What was your favorite part? It's kind of, you need that. It's like a exchange of energy that you need from the audience. But because I've been doing so much other things, like I said, short films, script writing, and another thing I learned how to mix and master during the lockdown, because I had so much time. It's something that I've always been able to do bits of, but because I had time, I just learned to do it, and it's something that I can do for the artists I manage if they need it and stuff. So, but yeah, because I've been doing so many other things, I didn't know if I felt the need to rap anymore. I mean, I can tell a story using actors and direct in front of a camera, just as easy as I do write a song. It's just not necessarily me, but I can still tell the story that way. So, but then I think because I was doing so many other things, those things were new to me. But writing music is kind of like, I guess it's like my cornerstone. Is something that I can return to. And I also, I guess, you have to evaluate as an artist what you perceive success to be. So I'm someone who's very ambitious in what I do, and like I studied music business, so it's not just a hobby to me. It's something that I take serious, and it's something that I say to the artists that I work with and that I manage and kind of mentor. Is you have to know the business, because it's fine. It's fine to just do music as a hobby. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but I'm saying that you can make music your career, and you don't have to be the person who's on top of the pops. You can make just as good a living as a songwriter, or a radio presenter, or a producer, or a choreographer. Or there's aspects to music that you can make money from, make a living from, and you don't have to be the star. But I guess one of the things that I had to evaluate as a rapper is, what do I consider success to be? I think that with rap, the genre, I think people assume that you have to have a certain content, and you have to have a certain lifestyle, and you have to have a certain amount of views on YouTube, and all these other things that are just kind of perception, but they don't necessarily equate to success. Not for me anyway. I mean, I've made money from music. I still make money from music, and every time PRS release their quarterly payments, I get one. I get my PPL. I get songwriting credits that I've done for stuff. So that's not really an issue for me in terms of that level of success. But I think I probably realized that just saying that you've got a number one, or trying to reel off your accolades, is a bit superficial for me as an artist, and I kind of had to evaluate what's important to me, and because of that, I kind of changed, I guess. I changed my content slightly, because before I would still write songs and make songs that I love, but I would kind of make them in a way that my listener would appreciate. Whereas now I just make it for me, and people, my fans like my music more now, ironically, than before. When you're trying, not necessarily when you're trying to do something, but when you make it with a plan and a strategy, so that it hits certain markets and whatever, that's good, and it's good to be able to do that. But I just wanted a bit more freedom to speak about things that are important to me, and things that I feel that rappers probably don't speak about. I mean, I grew up in Bristol, St. Paul's and Easton, where the stereotype is that it wasn't necessarily nice when we grew up, and a lot of my peers and my friends we had bad experiences growing up. No, but it wasn't all bad. So we had good family morals, we had good guidance from our families, but the environment is not nice. And when you grow up in an environment, sometimes, well, a lot of times, it has an effect on the person that you become. But I tend to I don't glorify those things in my music. So it kind of makes me a bit different in the fact that I don't talk about selling drugs or guns, and not saying that all rappers do that, but I'm just saying the stereotype of what rappers are is that people talk about those things, whereas I don't talk about those things. I may reference them, but it will be part of a story or part of a narrative. It's not to say that this is good or it's bad. It's just a part of something that goes on. So again, it's kind of because I am different as an artist, you have to, I guess, evaluate your place in the market and adapt accordingly because it's not necessarily mainstream. But
That's right.
it is, but it's not. It is to a niche market, but it's not necessarily people, especially young people now. They like I'm a fan of drill. I like it,
Hmm.
but I wouldn't feel comfortable making a drill song with the content that they make it with because that's not kind of that's not how I'm living anymore. And even when I was living in that way, that's just not something I would say. But I respect them and the younger generation and how they're able to articulate how not nice it is.
Hmm. Hmm.
But it's
Well,
just not for me in that sense.
yeah, that's amazing because you've covered the next two questions I was going to ask you. So well done. I'm gonna, but I'm gonna just home in on a couple of issues. What do you see of the future of the general future of music?
So I think I think in the UK we're in a good place.
Hmm.
I think for a long time we were probably in America's shadow in terms of not really having enough of our own music.
Mm.
But obviously since you had Mega Man and So Solid, so before that obviously you had the jungle era, then you had Mega Man, So Solid and the garage era, and then you had Wiley who made the grime scene.
Hmm.
And now we have drill.
Hmm.
And I think I think drill again is how young street people feel. That's the music that it is. It represents their life and it represents. It's probably a bit more raw and less creative in some aspects. But there are creative artists like Digga D is quite creative with it, and there are a few others that that are kind of transitioning it so that it's not as raw. It's just like grime. When grime first came out, it was very raw. It was very rave oriented, and then you had artists like Kano and Getz and Chip that made it an art form. So I think that's where drill is going now. In America, I think obviously that you have the trap type era, but also they're starting to incorporate drill, UK drill, a lot into their music. Like Pop Smoke is obviously he tragically got murdered, but he was a LA rapper that was on the UK drill scene quite early, and his album is drill, and he used to spend a lot of time in the UK. It's just it's tragic that he got that he was deceased, but he is someone who was quite ahead of the curve.
Mm.
American music, I think, it's become so big now.
Hmm.
Like hip hop is the number one selling genre around the world, whereas
Hmm.
20 years ago it was still considered underground music.
Mm.
Whereas now it's like a big industry. It's
Hmm.
so I'm not sure America wise where it goes from there.
Hmm.
But I feel like I think the UK is in a good place.
Hmm.
One thing that I would like to see though, I would like to see more singers, like
Okay.
successful singers. Like if you think about male singers, for example, in the UK, we had Nathan for a short period of time,
Hmm.
Angel for a short period of time,
Hmm.
and obviously Craig David is like the most successful singer that we've had
Hmm.
in terms from the urban market. I mean, but there's not really any. There's not really anyone now. Like people don't really sing anymore. Everyone wants to rap,
Mm. Mm.
and I would like to see more singers, male and female.
Hmm.
I'd also like to see more like groups, like singing groups. Like we don't have a Boys to Men or
Hmm.
um SWV and Vogue. Like we don't have groups like that anymore.
Mm.
And I would like to see that more. But I guess the music has changed. I mean, even R&B, people sing over a 140 tempo now. Even
Yes.
Chris Brown and Trey Songz, like that, they're probably my favorites. like August Alsina, they all sing over fast tempo beats, even though it's still slow and melodic. It's not what I call R&B traditional anymore.
Mhm,
Everything's faster, everything's a bit more high tempo. So
mhm, mhm,
but that's what I would like to see. I think that we're, like I said, I think UK is in a good place.
mhm,
I think that we'll be able to do more in terms of business.
mhm,
I think that obviously Americans are quite far ahead of us in terms of the artists there are able to branch out and do things that are not just music related and get big deals.
mhm,
Whereas in England, I feel like, I mean, Stormzy's done well for himself,
mhm, mhm.
but apart from him and like Dizzy Rascal, I feel that we've not really been given the opportunity to do anything other than music at the moment. So,
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Okay. What about, and again, you alluded to this as well previously, but I just want to home in on a few key issues. What advice would you give to people who are thinking of becoming active in their particular talent?
I would say, first thing I would say, research people. So, research people that are in the same field as you and study their stories. And I guess that's one of the reasons why I've been able to be successful is because I, I study the game, I study people in the music industry, I study their stories, I study the successes and the failures. And I think you have to know the history of music and music business. I would definitely say if you're just starting out, try and get a mentor. And it doesn't have to be someone who knows the world about music. It just has to be someone that knows more than you.
Mhm,
I would definitely say, depending on what it is you want to do, make sure that as what like the business is one thing, but you have to make sure that your talent and your gift is perfected. So you have to make yourself a process so that you can add discipline to your life so that you do things every day. So
mm,
if you want to be a singer, then sing every day. You don't have to sing your songs, but listen to people that sing that you really like, listen to their structure, how they structure the songs, how they put melodies together, and sing every day.
mm,
I mean, like I said, if you're a singer, you don't have to necessarily write songs because like someone like me or someone else can write songs for you. But what I would say is try and do as much as you can,
mhm,
because that way when you progress to a level that is industry ready, you won't have so many people taking money from you.
mm,
Like that's one of the main reasons why I learned to produce from a young age, because I used to watch interviews with Timbaland and Pharrell, and they would tell you that when you make a song and you release it, the producer gets 50%.
mhm,
So if you only wrote your verse and recorded it, then you get 25% if
mhm,
you're lucky, and the
mhm,
producer will always get 50% anyway. So
mhm,
that's why I would say try and do as much as you can. You don't have to do it all,
mhm,
but if you can, then it's good. And like me, you don't have to do it all straight away, but
mhm,
you should try and find out what your strengths are.
mhm,
Focus on those first of all,
mhm,
and make them as best as they can be, and then look to learn other things.
mhm,
Another piece of advice I would say is don't be in a rush to do things before it's time.
mm,
Like
mhm,
concentrate on your craft and have try and build yourself as a brand and not just as an individual, because brands are what last.
mm,
So if you're a singer, then or a rapper, whatever it is you do, try and build concept to what you do and have a story so that it matches you as a person. So that when you're doing interviews or when you set up your Instagram page or your website, so on and so forth, people have to know that it's you, and everything you do is an extension of you. And what I mean by don't do things before their time is, for example, there's certain things that people say that you have to have. Like when you're a successful artist, you have to have a manager, you have to have a publicist, you have to have an agent. And you do need those things, but you don't need them straight away. And there's no point in you getting a manager that's not really going to take you anywhere. And also, you need to learn as much about the business as you can. And learn about, there's a book called Everything You Need to Know About the Music Business. It's probably a bit outdated now in terms of how music is released, but it's a good book, and I recommend that you read it. And just to learn the roles of what people are supposed to do on your team, what the marketing person is supposed to do, what your manager is supposed to do, what a business manager is supposed to do. If you learn those things, then at least that way, when someone does come on and you start to build your team, you know what they're supposed to do. But definitely focus on the product first, because if you don't have a good product, then it doesn't really matter. And also, you have to learn good people skills, because you want to build a fan base. So you have to be able to maintain their interest and be relatable to them even when you're not releasing music.
Excellent advice. Listen to that. That is just, it's like you're young, but you're a godfather in the industry. Thank you. All right. So where can we keep up with what you're doing? Have you got a website?
I don't have a website yet. So again, I mainly operate through Instagram, and I've got a Bandcamp, which is being updated at the moment. But so all my music is available through my Soundcloud, and it's on all the streaming platforms and all that type of stuff. So, but mainly I'm doing stuff through my YouTube channel and my Instagram account. So my Instagram is, what is it? It's Powers, POWERSDAT9B.
Okay.
So that's my Instagram. And if you go on my Instagram, in my bio, it's got the link to my YouTube channel and all that type of stuff.
SoundCloud.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
that's
Powers that 9B. That's my Instagram name. And the reason I do it that way is because a website is good, but if you need to have other things on your website other than your music. So I'm currently, so this t-shirt is my t-shirt that I designed, and I've got more coming, and I've got other things coming, but I want to wait to build my website so that it's got my clothing, it's got the media TV, because if it's just got my music and a few pictures in a gallery, there's not really much point having a website. So yeah. But it's coming.
Good. All right, well done. So I'm so thankful for you to take the time out and share with us so that we can get to know about you and how you got where you got now and where you're going for the future. And also, we want to keep up with you. We want to keep in touch. So I'm going to ask if you'd be willing to come back in the future and keep us informed, tell us,
Oh, definitely.
So on, because it's good to touch base and find out, someone like yourself who's doing it. And
yeah, no, definitely, and I'm always happy to speak to people like yourself, and definitely I'll come back, no problem at all.
Okay, I've just got one more question for you.
Okay.
If the year 2020 was a human being, what would you say to him or her?
Honestly, it's one of those ones where I would say, I'd start with look what you did, like look what you've done. But I would also have to say thank you.
I understand.
From a worldly perspective, it would be like, look what you've done. Why did you do that? But from a personal perspective, I would say thank you, I guess, because I mean, obviously, because so many people died, it's we've never seen anything like that
Absolutely.
in memorable times. I mean, there's not been anything like it since like the plague, basically.
That's right. That's right.
But at the same time, I think it gave people a lot of time to think about stuff. Like, for example, the Black Lives Matter movement. Things happened that were not just a pandemic in 2020. The world kind of woke up in a sense. And that probably wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the pandemic. So obviously it was a bad year, and I know that a lot of people suffered, not just because of illness, but people lost their jobs, people lost their livelihood. Like mental health was a big thing for people. So it was a strange year. But if it was really a person, I would think that that person would probably be looked to be hanged or life imprisonment, because there'd be a lot of outrage for that person. But
true, very true.
I would personally say thank you, but probably my thank you is an undertone of look what I had to go through to get to the thank you. It was a lot. So
true words. Okay, BEZ, thank you very much, and until we meet again, you take
thank you
care.
for having me, sir. I appreciate it. You take it steady. I'll speak soon. Yeah.
Yeah. Bye.
Cool.